think that having an intellectual link between industry and academia is crucial for both. I mean, one of them that I can think of is, for instance, Alcatel-Lucent, who's also one of my sponsors. The link there with Bell Labs has been a very long-standing one, I would say a highly symbiotic one. To some extent, because many companies have, either out of choice or necessity or just different strategies, had to curtail somewhat the very long-term research. Their collaborations with academia, I think, are even more important. It's something where that very long-term view, which academia espouses by its very nature, and certainly I think it's our proper remit, is one that might not be present in quite the same way in industry. Maybe rightly so, I don't know, but certainly is necessary at some level. Conversely, as I mentioned, it's very important for academia, at least in engineering, to have the relevant, rich set of research problems that form the basis of our research, and certainly that allow our students to be well-trained, competent engineers when they come out of here. Yes, the startup aspect is interesting. I saw it in the end as being necessary to allow the tech transition. So it was more a matter, I think, of necessity rather than if you will, a deliberate plan. But it was very important that the tech transfer happened, and it became clear that there needed to be this effort of collecting, assembling the correct portfolio, but then also of adding the enabling technologies, both in terms of the developer's toolkit and also of the type of consulting that was required in order to allow that jumping that treacherous gap that we call tech transfer. Discipline really comes through managing a sequence of inconveniences with grace, and I think that's really what an engineer is supposed to do. People sometimes call them challenges. That always sounds a bit grandiose, let's face it, it's just more quotidian and inconveniences, but being able to approach them with humility, but with some level of confidence, and approach them honestly. And I think that's what makes them inconvenient, that they're often not quite what one wishes they would be, in the sense that maybe one already has a ready set of tools, and those ready set of tools are not quite as ready or tool-like as one would expect. This goes back to the issue of the dialectic I was mentioning before, between practice and theory. If one simply applied theory to practice, there would never be any sort of back and forth between the two. It would be a linear progression, but of course things are not that way. When one starts to reduce to practice, one notices problems. Occasionally they're small, niggling problems. Other times they're quite fundamental issues one may not have noticed, or that were maybe commonly overlooked, or maybe did not exist previously, and that sends one back to theory.